Hey folks, how's it going? I started this project off by cutting out a layout of the house from some scrap cardboard I had lying around. Unfortunately, the show only really shows the front and right side of the house, so I had to do a bit of investigating to figure out what the other two sides looked like. I was able to get a partial view of the left side of the house from Google Street View, but then had to go to satellite images to try and piece together what the back of the house looked like. Once I had all the images together and felt sufficiently creepy for stalking someone's house, I was able to piece together an approximation of what I thought the house should look like. And while there were probably some errors in my investigation, overall I'm pretty happy with my findings. So I glued together some cardboard pieces to create the framing of the house. With the framing of the house done, I began to work on some of the detailing for the house. The first thing that I started working on was the brick layer that is the foundation for the house. I created this brick layer by taking a piece of balsa wood and carving a brick pattern into it. And then glued it to all the sides, making sure to fill in the cracks so that there was a seamless transition between the pieces. At this point, I realized I made a mistake in my framing, so after some extended sighs of frustration, I tore it apart and then updated it to what it should be like. And with that fixed, I went back and gave all of the brick a coating of modeling paste to give it a more stony appearance. After the foundation was done, I began to work on the deck in the front using more balsa wood. Balsa wood is nice to work with because it's pretty cheap and easy to cut. It is brittle though, so I took my time to make sure nothing shattered. With the structure done, I went back to my carving tools and carved in the wooden planks. And then glued the porch to the house so that I could begin working on the entryway. I decided to paint the entryway now since it would be pretty hard to reach later once everything was assembled. Since there's no way I could accurately recreate the iconic stained glass window in the door at this scale, I decided just to print off a picture of it and then glue it behind the door. I then covered the window in some UV resin to make it look like there's some glass. My initial thought for the siding of the house was to take some stirring sticks and to overlay them layer by layer. But since that would have taken forever and I'm real lazy, I just found some corrugated paper that looks pretty good from a distance and cut it out into the shapes I needed. With the siding done, I started adding more detailing to the house, but I needed really thin pieces of wood, so I cut them out of some balsa wood. After having countless balsa wood doorways shatter on me, I decided to go back to some thin cardboard for more stability. I then continued that for my windows, cutting a frame out of cardboard before gluing a piece of black paper behind it. To create the overhang that the house has, I took some thicker stirring sticks and glued them perpendicular to the existing structure. The overhangs of the Creel House have way too many decorative components, so I glued some cardboard to a wood rod and cut out a million tiny pieces that I could glue to the overhangs to act as decorative support. And then I had to add some windows on the roof that I forgot. The final detail that I needed before I could start shingling the roof was to add the chimneys. I made these chimneys out of a mixture of foam board and XPS foam. I engraved the brick pattern and then created the stone texture with some aluminum foil. And then it was finally time to start shingling. This was by far the worst part of the whole project. For some reason, I decided to make my shingles as small as I could manage, which was a huge mistake and made the whole process take forever. So enjoy some quick cuts that really minimize my pain. With that all done, I made the rim of the roof using some stirring sticks and added the caps to the towers that I made off camera. And with that, we have the base of the house done, so all that's left is to create the roof of the porch. I decided to make this separately so that it'd be easier to paint. The techniques that I used in creating this pretty much mirror what I did for the roof, so I'm just going to be quiet for a bit. And I guess now it's time to talk again. So to create all the posts for the porch, I cut out all of the components I needed before so I could glue them together in sort of an assembly line fashion. Because I was so imprecise in my cutting, the posts came out very inconsistent and wonky looking, which really helped give the whole house a nice dilapidated feel. Or at least that's what I'm going to claim. With all of the components finally built, I went around and covered some aspects with some black paint and Mod Podge to help provide stability and to ensure a better prime later on. The roofing got an additional additive of some plaster so I could give it even more strength, but also to give it some better texture. And then it was finally time to prime it, followed by some painting. To give the sticks for boarding up the windows a better feel, I bathed them in a brown wash to darken them up a bit. And then glued them on. I could then attach the posts to the porch and glue the porch to the house to complete assembly. The only thing left to do now was to weather the house. The first thing I did for this was to cover everything in a black wash. This would help bring out some of the details, but also make everything look a bit grimier. And then after slathering on a mixture of glue and green flocking and throwing on some debris, I was happy to call it done.